Howdy, howdy, plants, animals, robots, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Mixed Signal podcast, where every week we unpack visual qualities in trending topics in pop culture and design. That's what we got for you this week.
My first one is flotsam.
What?
Flotsam.
I think what they're getting at is, when does design or a conversation have an expiration date?
We in academia tend not to give a shit about this stuff, even though it's amazing and it probably comes from a lot of the ideas. I wonder why that is. All right, Nira, what do you got for us today?
Oh, this is, so obviously my name can be sometimes hard to pronounce, but the story is when I went to Yellowstone over the summer, we flew into Denver for a layover and we were getting dinner and I went to go to Shake Shack and I put my name in, I got my order and I'm waiting there. And I'm like, because every time I order, I'm always wondering, like, are they going to be able to say my name? Like, I always hear some butchered version of it. So I'm waiting, and I see this lady come up. She's holding my order. I know it's mine. And I know because she walks up, looks at it, and she goes, I'm not even going to try, and then just gives up and goes, I'm assuming this is you. Here's your food. Oh. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I appreciate that you didn't even want to butcher my name, but, like.
You should have doubled down and said, no, I'm Brian.
Actually, I tried pulling that off before. I think I tried going by like William or something, or Tim.
Well, you don't even say it, William.
No. I mean, whatever I tried pulling off is like some generic American name or, Western name, and the dude was like, no. Because Show Me, if you remember him, he used some like random ass name, so it's never Show Me.
Right.
Some Nigerian name. It was just like, John. And everyone bought it. But me, I tried to pull off like Tim, and it's like, nah, bro, you're not a Tim. You are not a Tim. Yeah, whatever. Nihar, I understand your pain. I go through the same thing. I know exactly what's going on.
My daughter calls him Mr. Wally, which is pretty adorable.
You should teach her Wally Moto.
Yeah, that would be way better.
Mr. Wally.
She literally says, hi, Mr. Wally.
Well, this is a good transition into our decontextualized architecture names. Okay, we're going to go one by one.
Okay.
And Nihar, do you have decontextualized names?
So I have three that I came up this morning when I was making coffee, struggling to come up with names.
Okay.
I have my two twins, Truche and Poche.
Oh.
And then I have.
Oh, you're just launching right into it. Wait, we were meant to go around.
We're gonna go around. You just spent
no.
two.
He goes. He's owning you guys. If he owns the show, let him own the show.
So wait. Hold on to your others.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's her game.
Truche and Poche. I love that. That's very cute.
Okay, so what's the game, Christiana?
Well, if you'd listen, she's telling you to play the game.
Fucking viewers don't know.
I think this is very common in online. It's using words that are decontextualizing a word and seeing them as like a person's name.
Right.
Okay.
So the video that I referenced that I sent in our Discord, one of the girls says like, "Oh, anemia would make like a really nice name," or influenza. Mm-hmm. So we're using architecture terms.
Yes.
Got it.
As names.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And so Nihar has Poche and Truche
as my two lovely twins.
As twins.
Okay.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
I thought motif.
Motif is pretty good.
Like I could see that as my son, motif.
Or is it like first and middle, like Motif Bennett?
Yeah, it could be.
It could be.
Motif Ibrahim
motif
sounds
and
like
then
an African name.
It's little Mo.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Motif Ibrahim sounds like an African name. Or some soccer player from the Middle East.
It does, actually. It really does.
The nickname Mo is perfect. Yeah.
Mine's not exactly architectural, but it's something that gets thrown around in juries a lot. That's kind of where my mind went.
That's
like
good.
Weird words that people use. And my first one is flotsam.
What?
Flotsam.
I've never
Do you know
heard
what flotsam
someone
and
say
jetsam
that.
is?
Yes, but I've never heard someone say that in a review.
Flotsam is the debris after like shipwreck. Like flotsam and jetsam. It's like bits of debris floating in the ocean. So people use it when you're talking about like a field condition or something. But I think it'd be a good name.
They use that often?
Hey, flotsam, come here. Yeah.
Little flop.
They don't use
Little flotsam. Yeah. I thought it was really good. You guys suck.
I've never heard someone use that.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So this is Maggie's that I'm going to read off. Corinthian. I actually like
that. That's
Whoa.
great.
That is a good one.
Really
That is a strong name.
Corinthian? Like the column.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I always say Corinthian, by the way. Sounds like a Star Wars
You're just
creature.
deleting letters?
Yeah, that's what I
David
do.
Bell would be so disappointed in you right now.
Well, it happens.
That's a very,
I mean, I can't think of anything. I mean, I can only think of like, for some strange reason, Maya commands, mirror cut, because that's like
mirror cut.
It's just kind of stuck in my brain.
I don't know. That's gonna be the kid that can't read.
Mirror cut.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
Nihar, yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I didn't know we were going like that. I was gonna say like I had my two twins, Truchet and Pochet, and then I had my least favorite child, Rigid Insulation.
Rigid Insulation.
Oh, rigid.
Oh my god. All right, I guess it's your turn again.
Sure. Yeah, where do I want to go with it? Fascia.
Fascia's pretty good.
Yeah.
It just sounds like synesthesia.
Dude, why can't I come up with a f***ing term?
Yeah, I'm struggling with this too a little bit. I do have one that's not great.
I have a whole list.
I bet you do.
Are you thinking of kids? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm having a kid, and I'm deciding to name her Fascia or Motif.
I was thinking
Fascia's a bad name. I'm not gonna lie.
But doesn't it sound pretty though?
It sounds like it can be a lead up for a lot of jokes in high school.
But it's decontextualized. Like
right.
yeah.
Right.
I think it sounds pretty. Fascia.
Balustrade? No. Balustrade's a good one.
No.
That's an entitled child, right?
What about lentil?
Oh, that's Maggie's second name.
Oh.
Are you reading?
No, I'm looking at that list.
Oh, okay.
Basilica was another.
Oh, French Curve would be a good one.
French Curve.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's not a child name. That's a stripper name.
Instead of French Curve, give me Bezier.
Oh, Bezier's a good one.
Bezier's a good one.
That's a cool name.
I like that.
Bezier.
Trademark.
That's actually, it sounds like a rapper name. Little Bezier.
Little Bezier.
Jam is a good one. I like that, like Door Jam.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a total football guy.
And then Gable. I like that too.
Gable's a great one.
Gabe.
That could be a name.
That's an X-Men too.
Yeah.
Or Gambit like Gable. So
Yeah. If we want to get clever, I mean Eve, but written like EAVE.
Eve. Ooh, that's not bad. That's not bad. That would pass.
yeah.
Yeah. Or Pierre, not Pierre.
Like
Pier.
Pier.
Yeah.
Like Pier.
Yeah.
Give me your next best shot, Christiana. Which one?
I think I said my strongest ones, but I have in true form a Lord of the Rings name.
Oh.
If I
But that's not architecture.
Spandrel.
Oh.
Spandrel.
That would be
I
like the
Spandrel.
elf. The
I
elf
like
Spandrel.
What about Fillet?
Yeah.
I don't like the
I think Fillet's good.
It's like Philip. Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like someone I'd make fun of.
I'm not gonna lie. I think Niar wins this one.
For which
That
one?
was very good.
The twins.
Yeah, the twins are pretty good.
Twins are pretty good.
All right, we can move on
All
to
right.
something else.
So that was cool. All right. So, what do we got today? I have no idea.
Yeah, where do we want to start?
What is this? Yale paprika? What is this?
Oh yeah, I thought we could respond to.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of interesting.
What is it?
It's their new call for proposals.
Wait, you have to tell me what this is.
Yeah.
Paprika?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I don't know
Oh,
what that is either.
it's the.
Do you not understand? My brain is bricked. I don't know anything besides like the small range of shit that I see on my Instagram, and that's it.
Paprika is pretty cool. It's the student-run journal out of Yale.
Oh, you think I was gonna know what that is?
Yeah, because they'll take submissions. You can be a student, a practitioner, professor, whatever. They'll take anything.
I like the
It looks
images.
awesome, actually. If you don't mind pulling up the website, Maggie, they have a really cool website.
But I actually really liked this call that they have, Best Before. People often believe there is a best time to do certain things, after which one should stop. Best Before invites to consider how we relate to change and expiration. Some changes are abrupt, while others unfold gradually, even imperceptibly, blah, blah, blah. I think what they're getting at is, when does design or a conversation have an expiration date, or what are some of the cycles or timelines?
It does bring up some interesting questions because
Oh, I get it. That's what the expiration date means.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
at first I was like, is this just sardines? I don't understand. But no, I actually really like their branding when we were looking at their website. The topic's kind of interesting though, right? Because it kind of implies that there's a temporality to these to these ideas about architecture, and there's also we've talked about this before, but like a disjunctive cycle of design now where people are having different conversations at different rates and times. So I think that's kind of interesting. I once heard a really famous stand-up comedian talk about the expiration date on good ideas, and I thought this was such a good summary for creative people, meaning like that you have this concept of what you think is funny, in this case of a comedian, or what we think is interesting, and that if you don't develop that thing, it kind of goes sour or rots on the vine in your brain. And I think that's really true. And I think about it a lot now with social media and the way that we think about content. You might have a really good idea for content or some concept of what you want to put out in the world, but there's an expiration date where it's no longer salient or important or meaningful. So I actually think this is a really kind of
I think it's
interesting
good because architects think everything is forever, because they're like, I think they're stuck in the modernist point of view where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this project, it's going to last forever. By the way, by the time you build your project, you're kind of, the topic could be irrelevant.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
So we don't, as architects, we don't think about it. Even in like furniture design or whatever, things aren't meant to last forever. And again, we've talked about this before. There's institutions to try to justify it. Like, God, what's that furniture? Design Within Reach, which is the funniest name because it's anything besides within reach.
Right.
Because it's super
you can literally
expensive.
reach out and touch it, but you can't afford it.
Yeah. It's the most out of,
They're an institution, in my opinion, that tries to hold on and keep on the top of the mountain the modernist ideals of mid-century modernism furniture. Like, come on, like no one really gives a shit, right? They try to preserve this ideology, which at the end of the day, is it contemporary? Probably not. Like, I don't know. Like, it's strange. Even in like IKEA, like IKEA tries to kind of preserve styles at a certain point.
Yeah.
But is everyone chasing the mid-century modernist furniture? Probably not. Most people are just the designers that think that that's important because they see Design Within Reach catalogs all the time. But I mean, I think this idea of things expiring is a super important one that designers in general need to wake up to, because like the internet, for example, you know you have a trend and it has a window, right? And that window that you can't make a viral moment 2 months from now and expect the same results. And so
you're going to miss the wave.
So the question is, do we care about the attention economy? Probably not to the same degree a content creator will, but you have to consider that, like, you're designing for people. I mean, you can't design for yourself. That's totally fine. But I think people think that, like, oh, I'm going to influence people to a degree where maybe early 20th century architects thought that.
Can I offer a devil's advocate to this thing that you're throwing out there? Is like, I think that is true, especially for the attention economy. But I also feel the opposite sort of scenario happening, where because our conversations are delaminated and happening at different times, I do also think that you could reach back in time and sort of everything's on the table now to an extent, and things will go viral now that came out years ago. Look at the way that fashion is returning to like essentially the aesthetic of the late 90s right now.
Yeah, I mean, because that's becoming trendy.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying that we can always revisit those things, but it's not that your work is timeless. It's that it could have another moment.
Yeah. And I think that's what that's saying. I guess I see what you're saying. Something, if it dies, if it's expired, is expired. You're not going to eat an expired can of tuna or whatever. I wouldn't eat a fresh can of tuna, let alone an expired one. But, you know, what you're arguing is that there's a reset button where that can go backwards in time in a way and become not expired.
The reason I'm saying this is you and I walked through a Takashi Murakami show at the Gagosian looking at essentially historic reproductions of artwork. And so I think Murakami is showing, like, I can absolutely rehash this conversation because I have this platform to do it. Yeah. And he's so skillful at doing it that I'm willing to go look at all this, like, amazing, hundreds of years old Japanese art recontextualized through his framework. So I think both are somewhat true.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. I think that's the way of looking at it. I think it's the anti-timeless idea.
Right.
Speaking of anti-timeless and remixing, there's an album that dropped when I was in college, I believe, right?
It's the album was Cross by the artist Justice.
I don't know who this is.
There's a visual artist who I need to now like find his name, who remade the album cover using Pompidou Center. Mathew, he's a French artist, a French visual artist. Mathew BDT is his handle. I just thought this was incredible. I mean, obviously you guys know, like, I'm kind of in this space as far as like I'm super obsessive over collage and like smashing these images together. The far right image that he's made is kind of incredible. It's like retranslating the Pompidou Center escalator into the form of the album cover. It's just a super cool aesthetic thing that seems to be going pretty viral right now. So
when I saw these, I thought they were you.
No, I wish.
Doing them.
I wish. They're very cool.
But it's very in that same language.
The other thing I just wanted to point out that's interesting about this is, did you notice on that sequence, this is another trend I'm seeing right now on social media, is that he's posting the renderings of the thing he made, and then he's giving you almost like the Arctic view of it. And we're all sort of doing this. I've started doing this with my student work to show you that it's not 100% AI. So I thought that you guys might find that slightly interesting. Like, this is a trend now that a lot of people are doing, actually.
So it's not AI?
I don't think it is. Now, obviously, we both know you still could make those AI images. I just think that this is becoming
this whole like look, if your work looks like AI, I'm sorry, it's AI.
Yeah,
like, I don't give a shit.
I think he's just trying, and I see a lot of people doing this. I don't think they're being anti-AI. I think he's just trying to show you, like, look at this, like, look at the work.
No, I
think
how
much work there
is. The thing is, like, people like the image, but they're like, this shit's AI. I don't want to like it. And then when they see this, they're like, no, I like it now. It's like, you're so stupid. You're such a stupid person.
Well, I think it also shows just how much materiality and kind of the qualities make the work.
Totally.
I think that's worth showing.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a sweet fucking desktop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that would be such a cool desktop.
Yeah.
I would rock it. Zoom in on the Pompidou one.
Yeah, look at the affinity of it. I mean, it's a really well done collage. However, he's producing these, whether it's 3D or rendered.
Yeah, I don't understand it because, 3D modeling that it's kind of wicked. Can we see the one to the left?
The one to the left gives away.
Okay, so that's a total Pompidou.
Yeah,
because like the facade.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. So is this person, you said, just an artist, or
he's a visual artist. I've seen some of his other collaborations, or I've just run into his work a few times online, and this one just happened to stick out, and it's trending pretty heavily right now.
Cool. Cool. Speaking about trending,
let
me pull out my phone real quick. Okay, let me show you what I saw. I don't know if you guys came across this, but China has now required influencers to have a degree to discuss serious topics. So this is crazy. Actually, I want this to happen in the U.S. so bad, because some people, like, I think freedom of speech is fine, but there should be a disclaimer that says this person is not very educated, and they're speaking out of pure emotion.
Yeah.
So you know, I power to them, I guess, but.
That's
Americans can be like, that's fucking restrictive.
I don't think you said it fully, though. So you're saying if I'm like doing what we're doing and we're talking about topics that we are not experts on, you can get fined?
No. You just need a degree.
You just need a degree.
Any degree in anything.
Yeah, because there's too many stupid people saying dumb shit.
Sure.
I mean, that's what it makes it seem like. It says needs an official degrees before creating social media content, sensitive topics like medicine, law, education, and finance. Okay, so the funny thing is, like, I thought this would be there to protect like misinformation about politics. No, they don't get it. It's just like, don't say stupid shit about medicine. They can get people killed if you follow it.
Yeah. Be slightly skeptical, knowing the politics around the Chinese Communist Party, that they're probably putting up these restrictions just to allow them more authority to prosecute anyone they want. However, if that is actually what they're doing, I would really support that. And I feel like in the U.S., we really do have to think about this. Is like, there should, I mean, I don't know how else you get control of this, because the social media platforms have basically said they're not going to govern these things anymore in this new political climate.
I find it's kind of crazy. I mean, there should just be some banner that says, I don't have a degree, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Maybe they can put like a cigarette box stamp on the content saying
I like that.
This is unverified from a non-expert source.
Yeah, that would be cool. And if you didn't do that, then you get fined, because you're purposely trying to mislead people.
Right.
Although, this could have some weird like propaganda stuff, though, if you get like companies having representatives who are like, I'm giving the official thing, but it's still.
But it's not that. It's just saying, hey, influencers, you need to not talk about these topics because you're misleading people. It's because they have a reach.
I get it.
Yeah. So it's not even about propaganda in that sense. If you're an influencer talking about medicine, or like talking about COVID, all the COVID misinformation, like that makes sense to a degree. Yeah. I can understand the propaganda thing, but I think that's our Western mind just trying to play devil's advocate to say, oh, they're up to no good. I mean, I would say the same thing about our government too.
No, I'm kind of saying on the consequence of this is you could have like Tylenol or whatever get some influencers who do have the criteria, but to say whatever Tylenol
which is exactly what cigarette companies did in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, that's exactly
my point
is
we're jumping straight into like this is a vehicle for something bad, rather than the majority. It could be, but for the most part, I think it's doing justice for the majority of people.
We don't know. I have no idea what the Communist Party
can be weaponized. I guess you're saying that's a counterpoint, right?
But with any media restriction or censorship, it can be used for good or bad. Always.
It's always censored. You don't think like I mean, how many times do we hear about like topics of conflict or topics against the administration gets regulated by the algorithms? Like, that's censorship. Like,
sure,
they might not slap you with a fine, but your content's not going out there, so that's censored. So I mean. I mean, it's just like
this is what's always there is like in media. It's like, who wants to control the narrative and what gets out there.
Yeah, I mean, so $14,000. Why does everyone keep using yen in this? I'm very confused. Am I stupid?
Maybe I'm stupid. Let me look up the RMB symbol.
Yeah.
I forgot what it looks like.
Maybe yen is
one
line.
That is the RMB symbol.
Okay.
Well, yeah, yen is one line. You're absolutely right.
Okay, wow. Yikes.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. We learn. Hey, we learn things on this podcast.
Yeah, this is why, I have a degree and I was wrong. So.
Dude, the yen symbol and the RMB are the same, actually. It must be actually, that's probably the symbol for money then in non-simplified characters or whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
Since we're in China, can we go talk about let's talk about x+living, the firm, which you guys might have seen their library, I believe, in Tianjin.
Let's get the TLDR on this. What is this?
So look, the reason I put this up there is that I've seen work from this office a lot on social media. I think their social media following is massive, even here in the West, which is super exciting. It's a Chinese architecture practice that just does pretty interesting work. And one of the reasons I just want to show it is that I feel like we've talked before about the difficulty of young designers, especially in the West, especially here where we are, having a hard time getting their work out there and getting commissions. And I just think this is a really interesting success story of a practice that's a little bit younger and promoted their work, and their work is constantly going viral. Like you guys will all know, if you look down the list there's the Tianjin library. It's the big spherical library with bookcase. You guys have seen it before, I guarantee it.
Yes, Sam.
But anyway, if you take a look at their social media account as well, they're really good at promoting their work, and I think it's gotten them a lot of exciting retail projects that we would just never see built here in the States. But yeah, I'm always kind of on the hunt for these kind of practices that are good at self-promotion, that are doing interesting cutting edge work and just operating in a different way.
Yeah, so. I saw some images yesterday. I was looking through it. And yeah, it's cool. I guess here's my critique on it. Some of it looks like things you'd see inside of a mall, of a store, and or like inside what's that high-end design in London?
Harrods.
Harrods. And they're usually really high design, especially when fashion designers ask for a space to be, designed for them. But we in academia tend not to give a shit about this stuff, even though it's amazing and it probably comes from a lot of the ideas. I wonder why that is. I think it's that cross between branding and marketing has too much influence on the kind of design of it, or because it's overlaid with branding, we find it to be less valuable. And I think the lesson here is that there is this kind of higher esoteric group of people that say it needs to be purely architecture. And it goes back to the statement I always say, people don't give a shit about that. I'm sure a lot of people love these spaces because they're cool.
That's why I'm bringing this up, though, because I think this practice has found a way to really resonate through its imagery, its marketing in a way that's very popular. And I agree with you.
It's good design,
Yeah, absolutely.
But we find it as cheap design.
Right.
I think most people say this is cheap, it's hollow. Maybe because a lot of it is interior as well, and there's like this kind of perception that we don't like interiors. It's not real design because it's filling in an empty room.
But when Olme does product collaborations, which we've talked about a lot on the podcast and our other content, I think that's a little different, right? We see Rem as being this conceptual, heavyweight that kind of understands how to plug into all these different industries and corporations and the market. I think it's cool to see somebody that's maybe not at that level, that's just able to really to find a way through the attention economy to build a lot of work.
I think maybe to compare the OMA Prada runway projects versus this, and I think this is very valuable, especially this kind of library thing that we're seeing, or bookcase. I think the difference might be, well, one, there's a perception that Rem is going to come in with this kind of ideology. He's been pushing this project. Again, that we talked about it with Barry the other day. The difference between project and just a product that you produce, I think, especially in the academia world, I'm like outside of it, maybe people don't think about it the same way, but people might see this and say, this isn't a project. You're just bending over to a corporate demands or like a brand demand, which isn't the case. That's not the case.
Looking through the images, I think they're pretty cool. They're like otherworldly. A lot of them feel like I'm in 2001. I wonder, maybe Caleb, to the point you're saying, is it the way it's photographed in image that it feels like I'm in this other world in a lot of the projects? Like, I wonder if I would feel that when I'm there. But I just enjoy the imagery. Like, it totally makes sense why this has gone viral. Like, the one.
But this is very stupid. But some stores, like if you walk into like a pop up, that's really awesome. And actually, I thought about like Ali Rahim.
I was gonna say it feels very Ali Rahim Cap-esque.
And so I see that and I'm like, okay, that definitely has value. But then there's a different style that starts to get applied, and I think it's the fact that they can just switch up their aesthetic agenda bothers people, because it's like, oh, you don't actually have a project of the design to pop mart. That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and it's so like people. Okay, so if you see a space that's designed for pop mart, you're going to think that this is just pop mart architecture and not in this person's architecture and design, which, I mean, there's definitely influence, but I definitely like this stuff. I'm definitely for it. I think it gets a bad rep and would never, like, that's actually a really cool image. So some of these images where you're turning the corner, where the edges are starting to disappear, like, that is really cool. But then when you go to a different room, it's like this, English kind of architecture aesthetic. So the kind of the discipline of it, like, meaning it's not super disciplined, I think is a turnoff for a lot of academics, because you're just bending over to the character nature of the brand, which that is a project in itself. So why not?
I think this is right up our alley and what we're interested in, because we're trying to find ways to make design more relevant to the public. And I feel like exactly what we're seeing on the screen right now is the way to do that, right? You're giving people the visual things that they're interested in and trying to find a way to design a project around it. I feel like that's fantastic.
Yeah. I've talked about this before. It's about world making.
It is world making.
People really care about world making and feeling like they fall or they can experience the space of something that they're a fan of, right? Something that they can relate to in terms of narrative. Right. And it's, again, these spaces in that Pop Mart project, there are so many great examples of disciplinary ideas of how a horizontal surface meets the vertical surface, loss of edges, where eye follows. I mean, the use of contour lines and the color banding is really, really good. And it's very impressive. What overpowers that is the fact that it's a Pop Mart, Labubus, blah, 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 blah. So it's funny how we always get Labubus in our conversation. How does this happen? How does this even work?
There is one sitting behind us that has been sitting behind us. So
maybe it's making me think too, maybe it's worth a conversation about the usefulness of this idea of the project. Or like that there's a single, like it feels so kind of, I don't know, disappointing. Like, okay, it's both like, here's my, my territory. This is my project and I'm advancing it. But also like, what if I'm the kind of person that, I'll do a project for 2 years and I get bored. I want to do something else.
It's this whole kind of like idea of like high academia, which I think at this point kind of burned to the ground. Like I think it was mentioned the other day, this Peter Eisenman project. So I think Peter Eisenman brought the term project to kind of the forefront in academia, and it's very understood that Americans take architecture way too seriously compared to Europe in terms of the academic side. It's like, can you just build a building? And so this whole like the domain of the project running academia, which look, I'm a fanboy of the project idea, like the fact that there's a building and there's architecture and there's a project, right? And so the project isn't always a building. And I think that era kind of died away, probably because people don't read as much as they used to. And it was really reinforced by journals and just books and things like that. And I want to just tie this in because I think Anycorp, Cynthia Davison, right? Her company that produced the Any publications and conferences and now Log, they just had an event that happened at Pratt on Monday. And that was what was it, like the new brute? What is it? Towards a newer brutalism,
or the undecorated shed,
So this is from my understanding, from what I heard, is like a reaction to the digital in a way. And so Log, what number is it? Log 64? They had a panel roundtable discussing the new topic, that towards a newer brutalism. And this is kind of an idea against the digital project, or a move away from the digital project, which is interesting because who's in charge of the grad program now, and maybe their position to a non-digital project or the perception of it. But anyway, this conversation of people sitting at a stage talking about architecture as if they're going to have influence, I don't think that exists anymore. I think their attempts to say, here are the prominent people in academia, they're going to talk about this, you're going to listen. I think most people don't give a shit. I think that's the reality, and I don't even think you can. I think what they're trying to do is say, I'm going to categorize this type of work, just like how we talked about that diagram that categorized different types of people that fit within the disciplinary spectrums. I think this is trying to legitimize types of projects, and I just don't think this works anymore because project died. And I think that those interiors that we saw before from like Pop Mart, that proves the point that those can get hundreds of thousands of followers and no one knows anything about these people.
I don't know if I would go as far as say like the project is dead, because I feel like the way we think about project is maybe more to set up how you want to interrogate something over a long period of time.
Its relevancy died.
I agree with you there, though. I actually think it's not. It maybe in what the theme we keep returning to in all of these different topics is that maybe it's finding a different way to communicate your project, and that's why I think the attention economy thing is really important, because it puts a lot more pressure on the image. It puts a lot more pressure on a singular rather than having a multiplicity of ways of viewing things. So I think the reality is I'm not sure that the project is dead, but I think our project needs to change. Our project needs to become more about how you communicate your work.
But isn't it personal? Like, Christiana, you say you have a project and within 2 years you don't want to keep pursuing that project. It's a very personal thing. I think historically it hasn't been personal. It's been like an agenda that is about a multiplicity of people and a influence beyond themselves. I totally buy it as everyone has their own personal project, but when you try to make an agenda, just like the log panel tried to make this an agenda that this is how we're going to look at things. Barry said we were talking about post-digital, and he's like, "What are you talking about? Like, this could be misunderstood certain ways." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got caught under the trap of multiple publications produced this title of post-digital, and they tried labeling people under this." I think at a certain point, maybe the few people in academia that read these journals understand that. But outside of that, nobody has these boundaries in the same way that it used to, because there was institutional clarity, as I always go back to, that doesn't exist anymore because people don't read, and nor do I think that they should go back to those models. I'm not saying that at all. I think this is a way better model. I'm just saying that I think sometimes in academia we forget the project is not as relevant, or nor does it exist in an environment where it can kind of stand on its own like it used to. That's it. That's what I think.
One other thing to mention there is that I think every project and every era of projects in architecture had its own media associated with it, or had to create or invent its own media that went along with it. And that's kind of what I think we're getting at here. Like, I think the media landscape that surrounds the project, or how you talk about it, has completely shifted, and we're just catching up. We're late as a discipline.
I mean, it goes back to Marshall McLuhan and fast and slow mediums, right?
Anything you want to hit on the McLuhan? Seems like you're...
Yeah, I set that up for you. Like, that's a layup for you.
No, I'm already looking. I forgot I'd found this. This is another event that's happening, I think, tomorrow, maybe? Crit in the New Commons.
Where is that at?
I think this is Yale again.
Yale, okay.
Maybe. No, Princeton.
It says Yale Architecture.
Yeah, at Yale.
Yeah.
But like, we're talking about this kind of, I don't know, we could say crisis of the project, of people who've like built an identity around that being their trajectory in design, or that kind of propping up their legitimacy. These are all critics kind of saying like, oh, now we don't have projects to critique. Like, I find it super weird. They say there's no longer consensus among media publications about an elite aesthetic taste. So like, what do we do as critics? What do we respond to?
Interesting.
That reminds me of there was a log issue. I think it was log 32 or 28. Let me see if I can get this. Definitely 28. It was Peter Eisman and Anthony Vidler. Again, we go back to the same characters that try to prop up the project term. And they're like, the discipline has died, blah, blah, blah. And this was back in 2014 or something like that. And so they were saying there's no clarity, even back then, which wasn't that long ago. But for them, they were upset because the environment has changed so much. And so you always get that where, like, there's a group of people that used to have influence and now don't have the same influence anymore. And they're questioning, hey, what's going on? Either you take the position of we need to go back to something, it's broken, or kind of just recognizing where you're in, I think, which is what we're doing, and saying, okay, what are the benefits to it? Just accepting reality. I don't know where that leaves us, but...
Oh, I did have one thing, is because when we were looking at the pop mart, all of that, what I was thinking about was you mentioned this in previous podcast episodes where you see a lot of students where, or maybe this is less of a trend now, or maybe it still is a trend, but like where people like see things on like social media, like Instagram, and then just try and replicate that. If someone came to you in your studio and said, like, they essentially replicated this, what would, like, I kind of want to get your thoughts on, like...
On this, this specific image that we're looking at?
Maybe not the specific image.
This is the Pop Mart in Bangkok. And just to say, what I would probably look at is, I would look at these images and try to extract of one, I would want to know why you like it. okay? So I can understand your perspective of it, because what I see that I like, you may not like. That may not be the reason why you're gravitated towards it. So then I would start to extract the things that I see that are positive from the things that you like, or I'll just tell you what I think is useful in terms of lessons to be learned, right? Because in my perspective, what I'm trying to do is trying to educate you on a few things. One, disciplinary ideas that are important to kind of shift the way that you think to break your preconceptions. So again, the ideas of vertical versus horizontal surfaces and how they meet, that's something I see prevalent in this project. How striated lines or colors get used to kind of reinforce the ideas of geometry and form. So I would try to break up the lessons and talk about it. Now, I'm not gonna say go do this, because it might end up looking like it, because you're extracting qualities. I mean, the way I teach, and Caleb, maybe this is the way you teach, is we extract qualities, and by associating kind of a multiplicity of qualities, you get a project, right? Depending on how you combine them. So I can reduce it down to qualities, and that's how I would teach it. That would be my critique. If people are just like, I want to make this building, you're just mimicking. You have no idea what's going on. What's the lesson learned? Again, this is an academic scene, so I'm going to try to teach it in the way that I think about stuff, and I think I would try to make it productive that way. If that makes sense.
I could spend one other thing on that really quick. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I went from teaching 5th-year students last year to teaching 1st-year students. So I'm like retooling my 1st-year way of thinking this semester. And it's been fun, actually. One thing I've been thinking about a lot is this idea of copying versus mimicking. So a lot of times I have something for the students to look at and to model. And frankly, like sometimes I can't even get to that level of the conversation with these kids because they're new. They're just learning, right? So I'm totally okay with them looking at something like that and me telling them, I want you to mimic this thing, not copy it. I want you to mimic this, and trying to point to specific elements, just like you just did really well, actually, specific formal elements or something to study. Because I actually think at this stage for them, there's actually almost nothing better you could do than mimic good work that has an idea under it for them to excavate that idea. And hopefully in that, it's not saying that that's going to become their project. It's saying that that's hopefully going to reveal that person's thinking to them.
Right.
So if someone brought me this Nihar in studio, I'd be very happy to have them mimic something like this. Now, would they model or mimic a piece of it and then we have to try to, like, again, extract qualities and move it to something else? Yeah, maybe. But I'm very much in this headspace right now of saying, like, how do I get them to mimic this thing to learn a bigger idea?
Deep down, I'm bothered by just not mimicking, just the copying. I know why I'm bothered, but like, why are you guys bothered by, if someone was like Christian, if someone was to copy something in your class, what would be the issue?
Like copy something from
like
Pinterest or whatever.
Yeah. Well, what's the underlying issue that we have a problem with?
I mean, I think it's because you guys are talking about it already. They haven't identified like the components that make that thing up. They're just looking at it as an image or like a packaged form, and so they're not not form necessarily, but packaged image, and not kind of able to analyze and redeploy the techniques. And
so maybe the question is, why do we need to do that? Like, one, you're in academia, so you're trying to learn. I think a lot of times people just try to show me how great they are, and I'm like, do you know why you're paying so much money? It's not to show me how great you are. And so when you show an image and you're just copying it, even if you copied it, you're going to learn stuff 100%. But I think it's because as a designer, maybe it goes back to this project idea that they're like, when I teach people about qualities, I have a project built in, like a framework is usually the way I talk about it. I'm trying to pass on the way of thinking about frameworks and projects to influence the way you design. Like the architect we were just looking at, was it x+living? They have a sensibility and they have complete control of it. I think at a certain point, the project for me just tuned up my sensibility. I don't even need the project anymore. I just have a technique now to get me to that end result. I think sensibility matters more than anything else. And I think that's why we resist the copying 100%, because I don't know if there's value in that for you to increase your sensibility, because then you're going to start flip-flopping and not finding the underlying issues. Because if we go back to x+living, when I'm saying it just looks like they're, depending on the company that hired them, they're just switching. They're not. They're probably doing a lot of techniques, but we can't see that. And as an amateur, like a person in school, you don't know the difference. I mean, Paul Preisner has talked about amateurness and kind of I don't know how he phrased it, like the aesthetic or the sensibility of amateurness. There's a difference. You actually need to be a pro to make something look like an amateur. And not be actual amateurness. in terms of the way something is built or something like that, because I think he usually talks about it in kind of construction or how something appears constructed. I wanted to get back to this idea of the mimicking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to switch gears from architecture to something else, I like fashion a lot, and maybe this is like fashion from 15 years ago, but there's a fashion brand called Vetements, I don't know how to pronounce it in French. Vetements is how I pronounce it. Vetements, I think, is maybe the way it's pronounced. I don't know. But this is led by Demna. This fashion designer used to work at Maison Margiela's office, the house of Maison Margiela. Okay? And there's a sense of credibility to Demna's work, and Demna ended up leaving Vetements and going to Balenciaga, and had a huge impact on kind of the banal aesthetic and the ugly aesthetic in fashion and streetwear. Okay, and a lot of Demna's work, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, it comes from romanticizing the counterfeits of Levi's and other kind of fashion brands not being able to enter the Soviet Union.
By the way, the producer almost fell out of his chair because he just saw the price of some of these products.
Bro, they cost almost as much as Fleet's damn Loch Nester things.
You've never seen high fashion, dude? Did you not realize how expensive things are?
The most I'm willing to pay for a high-end thing is like $300.
Oh, well, okay, that's pretty good.
Someday,
and that's for like a suit or maybe, or like something on like a cap.
Someday, when you're running SOM, you're gonna want some nice clothes. Yeah. So you might spend a little bit more.
I think I prefer my disheveled look.
Okay, that's fine too. That's fine too, Nihar.
To go back to the Demna project. So the project of like the banal that he was trying to introduce was he grew up in the USSR and they weren't able to get Levi's because there were sanctions and stuff, right? So there was counterfeits that would come into the USSR, and there was this romanticized ideas. And this is a memory of the counterfeit reintroduced through the banal of high-end design. And now, if anyone knows kind of the history of Margiela's work, this person worked for, they also deal with the banal. And then you're talking about there's a lineage of Margiela and Helmut Lang that were working in the times in the early 90s where banality was something that like the everyday outfit was kind of amped to the extreme. Mm-hmm. There was a high level of sophistication here where you're thinking about a project to influence the masses. And because it kind of looks like normal clothes but kind of tweaked a little bit, it's a bit more acceptable than the Iris Van Harpen's that is like extreme formalism that we always try to kind of push forward as this is the future. There's a reason why this banality exists, and I'm trying to bring up two things. One is the mimicry thing, right? Mimicry of a past memory that really affected you and affected a larger society of people that weren't able to access something, so you got counterfeits. And so now you made the counterfeit high design and charged $1,200 for a pair of jeans is an insane idea that I think is, as a project, is amazing, but as outfit, he tries to make the claim that the clothes is just normal clothing done well. And, you can buy that. And I forget what the second point was, but there's something about the mimicry here that's really embedded in the project where you're not just copying. It's a very high sophisticated project that if people can write articles about this, and people have. If you just copy something and you can't get the depth of it and you can't build off of it, maybe that's where I start to question, because there's a sensibility and there's kind of like deep trauma built into this work.
Well, what you're bringing up is really interesting, though. I think it comes down to your intention to some extent. Like, are you copying something to try to replicate the original as close as possible, or are you mimicking to understand and put your own bit of soul into it? That's what I see here, and what I really like about it, actually, is like he's capturing a narrative. I love the narrative that you just unpacked, by the way, this idea about this desire to join the commercial sort of world of the West, and it's creating this like real narrative around longing to have that same lifestyle. So there's probably some really meaningful aesthetic here through the copying. Do you know what I'm trying to say by that?
And I think I think there are architects that try to do this, and I think like maybe Paul Preisner kind of deals with that in a certain way with the amateurness, and it's still high design. It's still very sophisticated, but from an outsider's perspective, it looks maybe not high design. It looks, because if anyone saw that without seeing the price, can you zoom in back on that jacket that you were zoomed in on that was like $4,500? Like nobody can imagine. Like if I saw that at the Marshalls or some sort of I don't know, thrift shop, I wouldn't ever think it's that expensive or that sophisticated.
Sorry, I was counting how much money I have. I don't got that much money. I pulled a $2 bill out of my wallet. I was like, yeah, this never happened again.
He's trying to see if you can afford that jacket.
I love it.
Wait, you had a $2 bill, man.
I have a $2 bill.
Hey, let me get that. Real quick. I think there's some people that have never seen a $2 bill. Let me get that real quick. And then
I'm not even sure if it's legal. I hope it is.
$2 bills.
$2 bill.
Still legal tender.
There's a mural in the background. I don't know what it is, but
it's a very high quality $2 bill.
Yeah, dude. This sounds.
It doesn't feel real.
I went to the farmers market. Counterfeit.
I went to the farmers market and I was trying to buy a Stromboli, and they're like, it's like 12 or like $15, and I'm like, do you guys take $2 bills? And they're like, they were like, let me ask. And they're like, do we take $2 bills? And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, guys, I'll give you $5 and just give me the change. I don't know who gave this to me. They might have lied to me and just given me counterfeit money.
That is counterfeit money, dude.
Feels like printer paper.
I'm pretty sure it was your student who gave me this. One of your students who gave me this.
Let me get that back in. You want me to crinkle it? Let me see this.
No, my dollar bill.
Oh. Yeah.
It sounds real.
It doesn't even crinkle.
Talking about copying and mimicking.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of counterfeits.
Yeah, totally. Hilarious.
Do
you think, though, like, I am really interested in this topic as it relates to architecture, because I think we're kind of going through this moment where we're rehashing a lot of like meaningful cultural thinking about historic architecture or just any era of architecture. So I'm very curious, like, could you have the same casual, I mean, we know people that are sort of doing this, right? Like the Paul Preisners of the world. I mean, there are others out there that I've seen who try to capture this notion of like a banal architecture that is brought to that same sort of level. And I'm just curious if it's possible. I don't know. Like, is it possible to have... I guess I'm trying to imagine what that looks like, and also what if it has a market.
I think it exists. I think when we try to make it a project, then it falls apart. I think people can write about Demna's work and his fashion. I don't think he needs to go out there and talk about it. I don't think he does. To this degree. I think when we try to make it a project, it's not working. He's trying way too hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's go to something super not banal and casual. Can we look quickly at this project I posted for you guys?
Which one?
I believe it's Diller, Scofidio, and Renfro's new Miami Design District headquarters not headquarters.
The flagship.
What would you call it? Flagship, yeah, for Cartier. And I just thought it was a pretty interesting take on some recent projects we've seen that deal with sort of the bubble glass like look. I mean, if you zoom in on this image, the interesting thing about it is that from a building technology standpoint, I'm not exactly sure how they're doing this. Like, there's some really interesting moves happening where it starts as almost like a flat curtain wall and then becomes bubbly at the top. Anyway, it looks beautiful. I'd love to see it next time I'm in Miami and check it out.
This is rehashing the shed at a different scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of amazing. Like,
but that's not ETFE, right? That's
I know,
glass.
But it's the form. It talks about so the topic about this that's interesting.
The project that we were just discussing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about it is the fact that because they modeled the skyscraper in Hudson Yards in a digital software, even if they made a physical model, they're just taking part of that, rematerializing it, and making a different project, which is super cool about just kind of the reuse of your work and the language of your work, because it kind of looks like part of the shed bottom, but it also looks like the crown of the project.
It does.
Where it starts to transition from a rectangle to this kind of filleted...
even the proportions, right? It looks like they took their tower and almost compressed it and multiplied it.
I had no... Once you said who it was done by, I was like, oh my God,
yeah, then you can see it.
I see it immediately.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. That
like
you can
even that detail above the sign where you see the little filleted steel frame, that's an exact copy, or at least like a direct reference to the shed.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of happy they rehashed it, because look, the shed is the shed's an interesting project, but I do feel like something slightly disappointing about that project was once the ETFE went on, you couldn't experience like the super beautiful structure that makes the shed work. So I actually love the way that they're thinking about that detail in a different way as facade, as frontality. I think that's great.
Maggie zoomed in on this Dezine article, and it says a pattern informed by the vintage Cartier brooch was etched into the glass.
You can see it.
Yeah, the etching looks great.
And so what I want to bring up here is that we're talking about this kind of like in the ideas of architects as an architect designing something. They're talking about it through the kind of the brand and how the brand influenced the project. It's just interesting how, and also Dezine is not meant for the general public, I don't think. It's more like people that are interested in design. So it's funny how they're also talking about it, and they're kind of removing this idea of the or they're like not removing it. They haven't included the ideas of the discipline that we're talking about because maybe the general public doesn't care as much, or maybe these are the people that are trying to influence what gets its attention. Because I think the way words are used, especially now because I'm so politically brained, how you misuse a word or how you structure a sentence influences how people think about something. I'm not going to call it propaganda, but it's just once you frame something, you re-understand the project. For example, if this article included the project of the shed and kind of zoom in shots of certain qualities, then you can make an argument, and you don't even have to say anything. People could just look at it and understand the correlations. It's just interesting how, again, media is used to shape the way that you think about something. Obviously, we know that, but
yeah, I kind of like where this conversation landed in relationship to the last two topics, because it's definitely about almost mimicking or understanding your own work. And as we know it, someone in DSR who maybe was involved in the other project is probably guiding a team and having somebody study these things. So there is a little bit of translation that happens here. It's not like it's one person modeling all of these things. So I do like this conversation about mimicry in that way, but it's also interesting to hear the conversation about the project and like the fact that you take one element and continue developing it in the next project, which DSR doesn't always do. So I kind of like seeing it in this moment. And the other half of that is like comparing that, which is the same kind of program and scale, to the x+living that we were just talking about, that is, I think, radically more exuberant and just a different type of design in a way.
You can get a lot out of a very small space.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
I was curious, and I don't know if you found it, Caleb, but it says that the flagship store is a renovated space. Like, do you know what it looked like before?
I don't, but I actually think I know where it is. You would probably know from spending some time in the design district. I think I roughly know where it is. I don't know what the space was before. But if you guys haven't been to the design district in Miami, it's actually a really interesting place.
It's like a lot two streets where all the shops are on anyway.
And there's also really cool. It's really near Wynwood and in this arts district. It's got kind of a really interesting collapsing of high end. Oh yeah, that is the old Cartier. Yeah, absolutely. But it's an interesting place. I mean, just for those that might be curious, I find it interesting because it's a collapsing of sort of the super high-end retail design culture directly adjacent to people that are basically like living in artist residencies and doing really guerrilla style level like artwork in the city. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I thought that was
we've talked about fashion a lot here today in this episode, where we talked about the clothes themselves, we talked about interior, we talked about pop-ups, we talked about very established architects doing flagship stores in fashion districts. I mean, there's a whole district in Tokyo, Otomasando, I think, or something like that.
Otomasando, yeah.
Yeah, where tons of high design architecture firms made flagship stores for these fashion brands, luxury brands, including Cartier and some other ones. And it's just interesting how that works at the different scales when something is seen as a flagship versus something is seen as kind of just an interior at an airport, and how people interpret it. I think, for the most part, the public doesn't care about the outside as much as the interior.
Right.
The interior, which is very controlled, like when you go from Prada to Prada to Prada, there's a very similar. Yeah. It's kind of like going to a Walmart. It's like, oh, I've been here before. This seems very familiar. Who's to think that, like, what's funny? It's just maybe we could kind of like end somewhere now because it's kind of getting late. But I remember asking my sister when she was much younger. She must have been like 8 or 12 years old, 8 to 12, somewhere in that range. And I was like, if she really liked fashion, I was like, you want to be a fashion designer? Like, what's your favorite fashion brand? And she was like, Arizona jeans, like JCPenney jean brand.
All right.
And I was just like, that's hilarious.
You gotta start somewhere.
Because people fall in love with the thing that they want to do without acknowledging the kind of esoteric, high-tiered world that we're obsessed with, and that's great. I really like that. Yeah. I laughed at her after. I just made fun of her, like, you're stupid, you don't know anything. But like,
I mean, it's probably the same way. You're like, oh, little Caleb, you want to be an architect, and you're like, what buildings do you like? I like the building over there. Right. It's like whatever's around you.
Yeah. I mean, consuming. I think that actually is pretty genuine, because especially us as instructors, we have to kind of respect why people love what they love, and we try to brainwash them to like what we like. Now, I don't want you to like what I like. I just want you to learn something, and you can throw it away. I just look at it as like, this is a geography class, and we're going to learn about, geography of South America, geography of Africa, specific parts of it, or Eastern Asia. I'm not trying to say this is what you should like. And I think that there has been periods of times in schools of thought that say, no, you have to like this. This is actually important. I don't see it that way. I see everything reduced down to visual culture and aesthetics. And you can like what you like, but I need to teach you something.
Yeah, you should be exposed to it, though. And different, like you said, different geographies. I love that. That's a great way to put it.
Well, I have a quick question. Are you older than your sister?
Am I older than my younger sister? Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear the younger sister part. I was going to say that everything is adding up now.
She is 17 years younger than me.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's that. I mean, they are younger than, or she is younger than you. So.
I mean, I think we should end the podcast with Christiana's question that you put in the Discord.
Oh, what was it?
Yesterday.
I saw it and I forget.
So I can propose the question that
Sure.
I don't think Christiana remember.
So why
we asked this about. I asked this, something related to this during Hot Ones. Christiana proposed asking the question: "Fuck, marry, kill." Plans, sections, and elevations.
Oh.
So I'd like to go around the room.
Oh, we're doing that now?
Oh,
I mean, if we're closing the...
Wait, it's plans...
Sections, elevations.
Ooh, okay, so...
We were closing the podcast, right? Or
yeah.
That's why I brought this
real
up.
quick. Christian, I feel like you need to lead this.
Okay, I'm just looking at this picture that was posted.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
To give context, I was looking at the cameras and I was on you guys, but I looked over because it was while you talking, Christian was looking at her computer, so I didn't want to focus.
It's my searching face.
Yeah, when you search, you look either like really angry or really scared, and
I
it's
don't
just
know.
like so. I took 2 minutes to just kind of like photo edit it because I
Thank you.
That's like a CCTV image right there.
Christiana, that's gonna be your like last scene photo for Murder
Oh
Mystery.
my god!
It just looks like she just is a car stealing something at a gas station. That's what that is.
Awesome.
The next image is the mugshot.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
But yes, Christiana, lead us off on your.
Fuck, marry, kill, plan, section, elevation. Ooh, I didn't think about it.
Okay. Then we get skipped. Think about it.
Yeah.
I can lead it if
Go
it would
ahead.
help.
Go for it. Neil.
So I know this. I'm marrying plans, fuck sections, and I'm killing elevations because, in my opinion, and I don't know how to feel to say this in front of professors, but like to me, elevations are out of those three the least useful in my opinion, or like the least important, and I could not care less about them.
I think they're more antiquated. I agree with you. I would also kill elevations. I would marry and fuck plans, and sections are okay. I mean, they're like a side
you
chick.
can't
Just friends.
do both.
Huh? No, I can.
Okay.
I mean, if he can do that, then I'm going to marry and make love to sections.
Oh, you're more of a sections person?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love plans, man.
Plans are about organization. Sections are about experience. I'll take sections.
I don't give a shit about experience.
Okay.
So there we go.
I'll take sections.
I disagree with that. I work like strictly in plans first, and I think about purely experience.
Your spaces are probably very boring.
I like
your turn, Christiana.
Okay. Yeah, I like section and elevation. I think
Elevation?
I do.
Holy shit, dog.
I like elevations too. I don't think I want to marry them.
Like you like Stonehenge or something? Because all
It's like
that
a
is
friend
an
I
elevation.
invite over every now and then.
Maggie,
It's like, hey, good to see you after like 3 years.
Maggie, your thoughts? I'll echo them.
I would marry sections, fuck plans, and kill elevation.
Okay. So marry sections, fuck
I think
plans,
I'm with Maggie.
and kill elevation.
Yep.
I like sections. I just more of a plan person. I don't care
I know
about
you are, man.
elevations.
I know.
So
I know about your struggles
The
with
general
sections,
consensus apart from Christiana is no one cares about elevations.
Right.
Which
okay.
is surprising because I feel like that's the form.
Yeah.
No,
formal
the
expression.
isometric or like the
Yeah.
that like elevations flattens and misreads. It's
I do
abstracted idea.
I do think elevations, when you're looking at your deliverables for studio, it's one of the first things to get cut. Like, oh, we don't have time.
Yeah.
We don't need
true,
this.
We don't need this, yeah.
True.
Because it's also like it doesn't actually convey the building.
Well, now that we render, though, like back in the Beaux-Arts era, elevations were the only way you showed anybody what your building was going to look like. So that was super important. Now we just like you show a rendering, you show plans and sections.
Well, a lot of projects you can't even understand the project because it's not meant to be like a cube or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like an actual four-sided object from the elevation. It's a bit more complex than that. So,
good question.
Yeah, good question. That's it, y'all. That's it. That's about an hour.
All right, everybody, keep mixing your signals.
Oh, God.